In a recent video I repaired this novelty neon lamp and realized that I had quite a few neon novelties and oddities in my collection that are not really classic neon signs, so I'm going to show some of them. We'll be looking at all of this today, and this is part 1 and I will shoot a second part video soon. First item we have is still pretty close to classic neon signs. It's one of these tabletop neons. They come with a black plastic base that has a 12-volt DC input, and some of them also have a flat back so you can wall mount them. This one is only for the table, and the tube either just plugs in here or you can screw it in with these tabs. You see one is already broken off, and I remember seeing these from the late 90s on. And the ones I remember seeing the most were this palm tree design, and then they had an electric guitar that was purple, pink and blue, and a bicycle with 4 colors. And I have this box here from an American manufacturer, Neonetics, where you can see some of the other themes that they had. And that's an American company, but it says made in China on the box, so they're not making a secret of that. And I have other boxes with other selections of themes by other manufacturers too. And this is most likely powered by a little circuit like this that you have seen in several of my videos before. A little inverter circuit with a DC input and 2 switching transistors, or one that switch high frequency kilohertz range power to this transformer, and then a transformer output from the high voltage with or without a coupling capacitor. This one is quite similar but a bit more recent. I think this is maybe 5 years old. These have a white base that is round and it has this dimming possibility, and it's 8mm glass, and they have a bit of a new range of themes that they sell these with. And again, this is the electrodes are in a plastic module like this with the contacts here, and there is spring contacts in the base. And then this clicks in here in the base, and sometimes you have screws, sometimes not. And here we have the first thing that is rather special, because it can change colors. It has a switch on the back that I can operate, and it also has a position where it automatically switches between the colors. And the trick how that works is that there's a mixture of red neon gas and blue argon gas and a small amount of mercury in these tubes. And by changing the frequency and I think the waveform of the voltage, that circuit can excite either the neon gas, the red neon gas, or the blue argon and mercury mix. In the red mode you see that there is just a very thin stream of red gas going through the tube. It's not as thick as a regular red gas tube, and also the sign is not as bright as a regular neon sign. But that's something very special that you don't see very often. And those phosphors are most likely standard blue, because standard blue gives a hot pink when operated with red gas, and standard green because that gives a hot orange when operated with red gas. And another common item with this color change is just a simple neon clock with a glass ring around it that switches from blue to pink. I remember those from my childhood, seeing them in a few stores too. This is a rather special neon clock because it has an animated neon ring going around that shows the seconds. It needs a bit of time to turn on. And then you see that the tube is powered in a way that it will illuminate around the circle to show the position of the seconds. And these were available in blue, pink and green, I think. And there's some potentiometers on the back where you can adjust the start position and end position, and the brightness, it's not very precise, of course. It's very difficult to get the right angle for every step of a second, but it works pretty well. And it's giving off a high-pitched noise. I'm not sure if you can hear it in the video. So now the minute is full and it turns off, and then it needs a bit of time to power it up again. And I just saw I have to disassemble this one because there is I think a supercapacitor or battery on there to hold the time, and it's leaking. It started leaking through the back and corroding these traces on the circuit board. So I have to take care of that before it destroys itself. And here's a potentiometer for initial lighting length, time setting, dimming, and this is the maximum position when the minute is full. And here you can switch it to steady on or to the animated mode. And this is the manufacturer logo. If anyone has an idea what this means, please write me in the comments. Here's a little piece of neon art that I made myself. So I bent the tubes and put them into this wooden box. And we have 10mm glass in emerald green and novile gold, and an 8mm clear tube with red, pure red neon gas, and it shows this nice beading or jelly beading effect that even reacts to touch. And that effect, I think, occurs when the output voltage of the transformer is really nicely symmetrical. So to get rid of that, you have to generate an asymmetry. That's why some early electronic transformers, when they cost this and the customers complain about it, the manufacturer would tell you a type of high voltage diode that you could put in series with the output circuit to remove the beading. But for art, I think it's just super cool. And if we look on the back, you see that it's just two of these small inverter modules, again, CCFL inverters, and these wood blocks with cable ties and a silicone rubber mat that holds the electrodes in place. And this is one of the circuit boards again that is in these white modules, and it's a very simple circuit. It doesn't have a fixed frequency. It's running in the 2-digit kilohertz range, I assume, 2 switching transistors, and it's self-oscillating, so it's kind of keeping itself running. And because it is not on a stabilized frequency, when I touch the tube, it will add additional load to the output, and that will change the frequency it's running on, so that changes the effect and the speed of the beats. Rather new item. I bought this about 5 years ago. It's a little USB powered neon, and it's a little Christmas tree with another CCFL inverter kind of circuit in the base, and it has 6mm tubing and even has a colored glass star on top of that little tree. To put on your desk and connect to your computer in Christmas times. And I actually like these, but I couldn't find any other themes except this one to buy. And the last gadget for this part 1 is the classic neon telephone. They were around in different shapes and sizes. A square shape is, I think, even more common with the handheld mounted in this direction. And this is the stretched version. It came in blue, pink and green usually. And this is a very classic 80s, 90s children room item. that you would see in old movies. And it usually has a few switches to adjust the function. This is to change tone and pulse dial, and then on top it has this one has just a neon on and off, and then usually when it's idle it lights up, and when somebody calls you it blinks. And I haven't even tested the phone function of this thing. I just found it on a flea market once and it just had to go in the collection. And a nice design feature to this clear case is that they often have a white painted circuit board. So all the electric components are spray painted white inside here. And here's the little high voltage transformer that powers the neon tube. And some of them have a brand name on them, some don't. I'm sure some of them were copies of companies that had legitimately manufactured them. So here's the end of part 1 of me showing all these unusual neon items, and I have more goodies for part 2, so stay tuned for that. Until then, take care and thanks for watching.